So imagine logging into this hyper-competitive 20-year-old online game where, millions of people are just ruthlessly fighting for gold and legendary weapons.
Right, the ultimate digital power fantasy.
Exactly. But your only goal, your entire reason for playing, is to spend like 600 hours just growing a perfect patch of cabbages.
It sounds completely absurd on the surface, honestly.
Yeah.
Especially considering the environment we're talking about here.
Yeah, and welcome to the deep dive, by the way. Today we've got this incredibly fascinating stack of notes on Old School RuneScape. And if you're not familiar, it's this massive multiplayer online role-playing game.
Famous, or maybe infamous, for its absolutely brutal grind. I mean, the entire culture around this game is just built on efficiency.
Oh, 100%. Players use external software to track their experience points per hour down to the decimal.
Yeah, they manipulate the game's internal tick rate just to perform actions, like fractions of a second faster. It's intense.
Yeah. The ultimate digital rat race. You log in, and the game immediately points you toward the next boss, the next tier of armor. And you just start grinding. It's incredibly transactional.
Which is exactly what makes the subject of our deep dive today so compelling for you, really, whether you're a veteran gamer or someone who has literally never touched a keyboard.
Right, because this isn't a gaming guide about min-maxing or efficiency.
No, not at all. We are exploring a case study of a specific player persona, someone the notes call Kelly, or the nurturer.
The nurturer, I love that.
Yeah, and Kelly completely rejects the hyper-efficient, combat-heavy meta of this world. She plays this massive, intense MMO as a cozy spiritual life simulator.
It's just such a radical shift in perspective.
It really is. In a world that is completely obsessed with the question, how fast can I get there? Her journey asks something totally different. It asks, did I enjoy becoming this version of myself?
I am so fascinated by that premise. I mean, to really understand how jarring this playstyle is, we have to look at the very beginning of her journey, right?
Yeah, the early game.
Because the moment a new player drops into this game, the instinct is to immediately sprint toward the Grand Exchange.
Right, which is basically the center of the universe for this game.
Exactly. The Grand Exchange is essentially the Amazon Prime of RuneScape. It's this massive centralized stock market where players buy and sell every item in the game instantly.
It completely removes the need to gather your own resources.
Right, because if you need, say, 100 oak logs to build something, you don't go chop down oak trees for 2 hours.
No, you kill monsters.
Yeah.
You take their gold, and you buy the logs in the Grand Exchange in, like, 3 seconds.
But Kelly she ignores the Grand Exchange completely. Her first priority isn't market efficiency at all.
Her first priority is finding a home.
A home in an MMO, that's just wild to me.
Right, so she physically walks across the game's map to this quiet coastal town called Catherby. And the geographical layout of Catherby is the whole point.
Because everything is close together.
Exactly. It has fishing spots on the beach, a kitchen range nearby, and farming patches just up the hill. So she establishes this incredible, deliberate, physical cycle.
A home loop.
Yes, the home loop. She fishes on the beach, she cooks the fish, tends to the crops, banks the supplies, and repeats.
So by anchoring herself to one physical location, she's actually sacrificing the ability to teleport all over the map, chasing the highest experience yields.
100%. Her growth becomes intentionally slow. I mean, the notes say she plays for maybe 1 to 2 hours a day.
Oh, wow, that's nothing in MMO terms.
Barely scratching the surface.
Right.
Sometimes she logs in for just 30 minutes to do what players call a farm run, planting seeds, watering them, and harvesting whatever grew overnight.
Right.
She accumulates maybe 8 to 12 hours of playtime a week.
It's kind of like the digital equivalent of watering a houseplant. You give it a little bit of water every single day. You don't just, dump a 5-gallon bucket of water on it on a Sunday and expect it to thrive.
That is a perfect analogy.
Yeah.
She values consistency over intensity. While the average player is sprinting through the early levels to get to the good stuff, Kelly creates space for the growth itself.
She wants to feel present.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
And we see that so clearly in how she treats the game's early quests. There's this beginner quest called Druidic Ritual.
Oh, okay.
For 99% of the player base, this quest is nothing more than a mechanical roadblock. You literally just need to complete it to unlock the herblore skill, which lets you make potions.
Right, and players will just hold down their spacebar to skip all the dialogue as fast as possible, grab their reward, and move on.
Oh, absolutely. But Kelly treats Druidic Ritual as an actual spiritual awakening.
Wait, really? She reads the quest dialogue?
She actually reads the lore about the druids.
Hmm.
And when she unlocks that herblore skill, she levels it up from level 10 to 20 using only the herbs she physically planted, nurtured, and harvested herself.
Oh, so no buying herbs in bulk.
None. It isn't about rushing to make high-level potions to boost her combat stats. It's about understanding the flora of the game world, creating healing remedies, and actually embodying the identity of a druid.
Okay, but wait, I have to jump in here on the mechanics of this.
Yeah.
Because RuneScape is fundamentally built on a combat engine, right?
It is, yeah?
You walk outside of a safe town, and a goblin or a giant spider or whatever will automatically lock onto you and start attacking. The game actively forces you into violence just to traverse the map. So how is she surviving this world if her core philosophy is essentially to play as a pacifist?
Well, the game absolutely uses aggressive monsters to gatekeep resources in areas, you're right. But Kelly's approach to this is a strict internal boundary. Her motto is, support life, don't dominate it.
Support life, don't dominate it.
Yeah. So when she is forced into combat to defend herself or to unlock a piece of the map she needs for her farming, she does it very reluctantly and minimally.
She just does the bare minimum.
Exactly. She does not hunt. She does not kill monsters for sport or for profit.
So she completely opts out of the game's primary economic driver.
She does. Which forces this total redefinition of what progress looks like as she transitions into the mid-game.
Right, because if you refuse to participate in the central market economy and you refuse to hunt high-level monsters for valuable loot, then the whole concept of mid-game stability has to change.
It shifts from growing something meaningful to sustaining something meaningful.
For a typical player, the mid-game is defined by wearing specific gear, like a fighter torso or a slayer helmet, right?
Yeah, and having combat stats high enough to grind mid-tier bosses. It takes them maybe 40 to 70 hours of optimized playtime to get there.
And how long does Kelly's mid-game take?
Over 120 hours.
120 hours, just to reach the mid-game.
Because she is physically walking her self-grown supplies back and forth. But here's the thing. She doesn't measure her mid-game arrival by her combat stats at all. She measures it by a complete lack of resource stress.
Meaning what exactly?
Yeah. Meaning she opens her bank and she sees rows of food she caught herself and potions she brewed herself. She has achieved absolute self-sufficiency through what the notes call the living loop.
Ah, the living loop. Let's break that down. Her farming yields herbs. Those herbs are mixed into potions. Her fishing yields raw food, and cooking provides the sustenance to keep her going.
It is a perfectly closed ecosystem.
That's incredible. And her stat targets for this phase are super modest, too. She aims for, what, level 40 to 60 in farming?
Yeah, and maybe 30 to 45 in herblore, 40 to 50 in cooking, 30 to 50 in crafting, just very middle of the road numbers.
And her combat?
Her combat stats sit around level 30 to 50. Which is just enough health and defense to survive a random attack while she's traveling. But there is one specific combat-related milestone she does hit, and it's entirely defensive.
Okay, what is it?
Level 43 in the prayer skill.
Getting to level 43 prayer is actually fascinating because of what it mechanically unlocks. In RuneScape, the prayer skill involves burying bones, right? And at level 43, you unlock this supernatural shield that basically floats over your head and blocks 100% of all melee damage.
It is the ultimate pacifist tool. Once she has that overhead protection, she can walk past those aggressive monsters without having to draw a weapon.
She can just peacefully navigate dangerous areas to reach new farming patches or fishing spots.
Exactly. And the content she actually chooses to engage with is curated so beautifully to fit this pacifist identity.
Yeah.
She doesn't just do any activity that grants experience. She seeks out highly thematic mini-games.
Like the tithe farm.
Yes. Instead of the traditional farming method where you plant a seed and just wait 8 real-world hours for it to grow, Tithe Farm is an active, instanced minigame.
Right. You furiously plant, water, and harvest a specific crop against a timer.
It's a peaceful, structured mastery of agriculture. And she also plays a boss encounter called Temporos.
Okay, how does a pacifist fight a boss?
Well, Temporos is this massive, raging water elemental that threatens a fleet of ships. For most players, it's just a boss to grind for quick fishing experience. But mechanically, you don't actually fight Temporos with weapons.
Oh, really?
No, you fish in the surrounding waters, you cook the fish, and you use them to calm the elemental storm. It's a cooperative rescue mission, not a monster hunt.
Wow, she is heavily filtering the game's systems to find the mechanics that align with her values.
Completely. We even see this in the quests she chooses. She does a quest called Client of Kurend specifically because it grants her access to a massive agricultural guild.
And she does segments of that massive overarching quest called Recipe for Disaster purely to cement her identity as a skilled cook.
Exactly. She refuses to buy top-tier food, like cooked sharks, from other players. She prefers to spend her time making complex stews from scratch because, as she puts it in the notes, I made this stew myself. It just feels better.
I made this stew myself. That's so wholesome. But, consider the underlying psychology of that choice. By insulating herself from the grand exchange, she's actually building profound emotional security.
Yes, she really is. Most players constantly check the market prices. If the price of a certain weapon crashes, they lose millions of gold, and their progress feels, invalidated.
Right, they get stressed. But Kelly is completely immune to that volatility. Having a bank value of, say, 500,000 to 1 million gold coins makes her feel financially stable, but the gold itself is almost irrelevant.
The money is merely a byproduct of her artisan crafting and agriculture. She knows that no matter what happens to the game's economy, she can survive. She knows how to grow food, she knows how to cook it, and she knows how to brew her own medicine.
And once that absolute self-sufficiency is established, there's a massive behavioral shift in how she interacts with the rest of the game world.
Right, because when you no longer need to hoard every single resource just to survive the next boss fight, your relationship with the game's storage system and with other human beings playing the game flips completely.
She enters this phase of overflow giving. She moves from a mindset of survival to a mindset of creating safety for others.
She develops what's called a feed people first philosophy.
Feed people first.
Because she has a massive surplus of food that she genuinely enjoyed catching and cooking, she starts making extra just to drop it on the ground for new, struggling players to find.
Oh, that's amazing. She just hands out her self-made potions to strangers.
Yeah, and because she is so intimately aware of what activities actually bring her joy, she sets incredibly firm boundaries. If an activity feels draining or if it compromises her peaceful identity, she simply skips it.
She's no longer trying to be okay. She is okay. And now she's tending to the environment around her.
That internal security changes the fundamental utility of her bank, too.
Oh yeah, the bank organization. Let's talk about that. In a game like RuneScape, a player's bank is a high security vault, right?
Oh, yeah. Meticulously organized into tabs. You have your melee combat tab with optimized weapons. You have your magic tab with runes and robes.
It's like a visual representation of your lethality and your wealth.
Exactly. But Kelly's bank ceases to be a vault of valuable items. It becomes a scrapbook.
A scrapbook. It's a purely sentimental approach to inventory management.
She keeps the very first herb she ever harvested. She keeps the first stew she ever successfully cooked.
And she has massive stacks of herbs that she grew herself, not because she plans to sell them on the market for profit, but because she literally likes to open her bank and look at them as a visual record of her time spent in the dirt.
She even keeps random zero-value rocks that she picked up in scenic locations just because they remind her of a peaceful walk she took across the map.
I mean, it's a beautiful sentiment, but most players would look at that bank and see wasted potential. They would see inventory slots being taken up by useless junk.
They would. But for Kelly, those items hold more value than the most expensive armor in the game.
But let me push back a little here, or at least play devil's advocate. Consider the environment she's in. She is playing a multiplayer game surrounded by thousands of other people. Every time she walks through a town, she sees players wearing Barrow's armor, which is this incredibly powerful, high-end combat gear that takes weeks of raiding perilous tombs to acquire.
Right.
She sees players with glowing weapons and massive boss kill counts. How does she not experience FOMO? Like the fear of missing out. How does she not feel left behind by the meta?
That's the brilliance of it. She escapes the fear of missing out because her validation is completely decoupled from the game's meta. Her sense of achievement is entirely internal.
Okay, give me an example of that.
To understand this, look at what she considers to be her ultimate big drop. For a normal player, getting a rare weapon drop from a terrifying raid boss is the peak dopamine hit. For Kelly, her ultimate drop is a tangleroot.
The tangleroot, that's a pet, right?
Yes, it's an incredibly rare miniature tree creature that follows you around. And the way you get a tangleroot is purely through patience. You cannot buy it. You cannot fight a boss for it.
How do you get it?
It has a microscopic, lottery-level chance of spawning every time you harvest a farming patch. You could gain millions of experience points over hundreds of hours and literally never see one.
Oh, wow. So if she gets a Tangleroot, it is the ultimate validation of her specific journey.
Exactly. It proves she stayed with the process. To her, a successful day isn't acquiring a new piece of Barrow's armor. A successful day is executing a full, map-wide herb run and having every single seed grow perfectly without catching a disease.
She has a fully realized growth arc that requires zero external meta-driven validation.
Zero. And there's a line in the deep dive sources that completely floored me. It points out that if the game could actually track her highest statistic, it wouldn't be her farming level or her cooking level.
Right.
Her highest, most optimized stat would be the unlogged metric of helping others.
Man, that is powerful. And that mindset fundamentally alters what the end game of a massive multiplayer game looks like.
It completely flips it.
Because the standard end game is defined by maximization, right? You hit the maximum level in every skill, you buy the most expensive gear, and you conquer the most difficult bosses. You essentially beat the systems the developers built.
Right, but Kelly enters what the notes call the pacifist endgame. This final stage is referred to as the living garden.
The living garden. And this takes her, what, 300 to 600 hours to reach?
At least, yeah. And the defining characteristic of her endgame is what she absolutely refuses to do. She refuses to maximize her combat.
Right. She lets her combat stats settle naturally around level 90 or 100. And in RuneScape, level 99 is the absolute maximum for any skill, and it requires over 13 million experience points to achieve.
It is a staggering time commitment. Level 90 is highly capable, but it is millions of experience points short of perfection.
She views her combat ability as a tool she learned to survive, not an identity she wants to perfect. She only pursues that elusive level 99 and highly specific thematic skills.
And 99 farming is non-negotiable. It's her soul skill.
Her soul skill.
The way she celebrates hitting 99 farming perfectly encapsulates her entire journey, actually.
Yeah, because when a typical player hits their first level 99, it is a massive event. They invite all their guildmates to the Grand Exchange, they drop expensive items on the floor, they shoot off in-game fireworks. It's a massive public flex.
Oh yeah, it's a huge party. But when Kelly finally hits 13 million experience points in farming, she doesn't throw a party.
What does she do?
She literally she stands quietly in a dirt patch that she has visited hundreds of times over the last several months.
Just stands there.
She stands there and reflects on her own consistency. She recognizes that she committed to a daily practice and she saw it through to the end. It's an act of extreme mindfulness in a medium that is usually designed to distract you.
That's honestly beautiful. She also aims for 99 cooking, right? Which serves as her love language.
Yeah, it reinforces her role as a hostess and an emotional anchor for the newer players she encounters.
And her herblore skill. Does she max that out?
It might eventually hit 99, but only if it happens organically from the herbs she grows herself. She won't force it. And she deliberately stops her crafting skill somewhere between levels 70 and 85.
She explicitly decides that she doesn't need to be everything. She just needs to be herself.
Exactly. And all of these deliberate limitations lead to her final objective. You know, in RuneScape, the ultimate flex is the max cape.
Oh, right. It's a literal cape your character wears to prove you've achieved level 99 in all 23 skills.
Which requires thousands of hours of optimized grinding. Kelly does not want the max cape. Her true endgame goal is entirely social and environmental.
Her final goal listed in the source is become a place others feel safe around.
Think about the stark contrast between those two late-game experiences. The average player's endgame is defined by power, wealth, and systemic mastery. They have subjugated the digital world.
But Kelly's endgame is defined by stability, care, and presence. She is literally just tending a living garden.
The game actually stops being a game with discrete win states, and it transforms into a living place. Logging in is no longer about checking off a to-do list or hitting an arbitrary experience point goal.
It becomes about maintenance.
Yeah, she logs in to do a quiet, map-wide farm run. She cooks a batch of stew. She finds a new player who looks lost or overwhelmed by the game's brutal mechanics, and she guides them to a safe town, dropping some food for them along the way.
And then, feeling completely satisfied, she peacefully logs off.
There's no urgency to keep grinding. There's no pressure from the game's built-in reward systems.
I didn't conquer RuneScape, I made a home in it. That statement from the notes is just the perfect summary of this entire case study.
It really is.
It's such a powerful reminder for you listening to this that we actually get to choose how we interact with the complex systems built around us. You can be placed inside an environment that is meticulously designed to extract your time, demand your efficiency, and push you into a state of constant competition. And you can simply decide not to participate on those terms.
You don't have to run on the treadmill just because someone else built it and turned it on. You have agency over how you define your own progression.
Exactly.
Which actually brings us to a final thought I want to leave you with today.
Oh, absolutely. Let's hear it.
Take a step back and examine the systems you interact with daily. Look at your career path, your hobbies, or even the digital spaces where you spend your free time. Are you constantly rushing to optimize your path and conquer the next milestone handed to you? Or are you taking the time to plant something sustainable, filter out the noise, and actually make a home in the space you occupy?